Stop spending your hard-earned money on that pricey supplement your physician keeps recommending, because what I'm about to reveal to you is something that leaves it in the dust. This is something hidden in plain sight, sitting quietly on the shelves of your local grocery store. It's something that sets you back less than $2, and it's something that a groundbreaking study out of Harvard Medical School discovered reduces the most dangerous form of internal inflammation by an astounding 63% in adults over the age of 65. Across my 25 years practicing as a physician and medical researcher, I have genuinely never encountered a single nutritional approach that produces the type of results I'm about to walk you through today. Now, let's get into what no one seems to be telling you. Chronic inflammation, that slow, silent, invisible fire smoldering deep within your body, isn't merely the cause of aching joints or a nagging sore back. Experts at the Mayo Clinic now firmly believe it is the primary underlying driver behind Alzheimer's disease, heart failure, type 2 diabetes, and the kind of accelerated muscle deterioration that forces seniors into nursing homes far too early. And the real tragedy here? The vast majority of people over 60 are unknowingly fueling that very fire every single day. The food industry is fully aware of this, and frankly, certain corners of the pharmaceutical world would much rather sell you a pill than let you in on what I'm about to share with you today. Throughout this video, I'm going to count down 5 of the most potent anti-inflammatory foods on the planet, ranking them from number 5 all the way to number 1, from the least powerful to the absolute most powerful. And I'm going to tell you right now, number 1 is going to genuinely catch you off guard. Most people consume it incorrectly. They eat it at the wrong time of day, and they're carelessly tossing away the very portion that holds the highest medicinal value. So, I need you to stay with me all the way to the conclusion, because that number 1 food alone has the potential to completely transform your health. But before we jump into the list, I'd like to ask you something personal. Go ahead and drop a comment down below telling me your age and what your single biggest health concern is right at this moment, whether that's persistent joint pain, frustrating brain fog, low energy levels, heart health worries, or something else entirely. I want you to know that I personally read every single comment that comes through on this channel, each and every one. Your story genuinely matters to me, and it directly helps me craft the kind of content that will serve you best. All right, let's begin this journey. Coming in at number 5, and this one always surprises nearly every patient who sits across from me in my practice: extra virgin olive oil. Now, before you say, "Doctor, I already know all about olive oil," I want you to hear me out, because I guarantee you are not aware of what researchers at the University of Pennsylvania uncovered about what happens to the aging brain when you consume exactly 1.5 tablespoons of high-quality extra virgin olive oil every single day for a period of 6 months. This study, published in the journal Annals of Clinical and Translational Neurology, followed 94 participants ranging in age from 55 to 80. What they discovered was nothing short of remarkable. Daily intake of extra virgin olive oil led to a significant improvement in cerebrovascular function. That's the blood flow moving through the tiny, delicate vessels of your brain by 34%. Even more importantly, it reduced levels of a compound known as interleukin-6, which is one of the primary chemical messengers of inflammation in the aging body, by an average of 28%. Now, here's why this finding is especially critical for individuals over 65. After you hit the age of 60, your body's natural anti-inflammatory systems start to break down. Think of your immune system like a highly sophisticated thermostat. When you're young, it kicks into gear to fight off infection and then cools back down just as quickly. But as you grow older, that thermostat essentially gets stuck. It continues pumping out inflammatory signals even when there's no actual threat left to combat. Scientists refer to this phenomenon as inflammaging, and it's one of the most dangerous biological processes currently taking place inside the bodies of seniors right now. Extra virgin olive oil contains a compound called oleocanthal, and this is where the true medicine lies. Oleocanthal functions almost identically to ibuprofen at the molecular level, blocking the exact same inflammatory enzymes. The crucial difference is that ibuprofen comes with a lengthy list of potential side effects for older adults, including gastrointestinal bleeding and added stress on the kidneys. Oleocanthal, on the other hand, carries none of those risks. In fact, researchers at the Mandell Chemical Senses Center in Philadelphia discovered that consuming about 50 milliliters, roughly 3.5 tablespoons, of high-quality extra virgin olive oil provides anti-inflammatory activity that is equivalent to about 10% of a standard adult dose of ibuprofen, and it accomplishes this every single day, consistently, without any adverse effects. Now, here's the part most people get completely backward. They heat their olive oil until it starts smoking. When you push extra virgin olive oil past its smoke point, which is around 375 degrees Fahrenheit, you destroy the oleocanthal and the polyphenols, the very compounds doing all the healing work. Instead, use it cold, drizzled over fresh vegetables, salads, or even a slice of whole grain bread. The timing of consumption matters too. Consuming it alongside your largest meal of the day, particularly when paired with fat-soluble nutrients like those found in leafy greens, dramatically boosts absorption. For an even more powerful synergy effect, pair your extra virgin olive oil with a handful of cherry tomatoes. The lycopene in the tomatoes and the oleocanthal in the olive oil work together to create an anti-inflammatory effect that, according to research from the University of Athens, is 37% more potent than either food working in isolation. And always, always look for the harvest date printed on the bottle, not just the expiration date. The fresher the olive oil, the higher its oleocanthal content will be. Moving on to number 4, we have something that ancient civilizations used as a form of medicine for over 5,000 years, and modern science is only now catching up to what they already understood intuitively. Number 4 is wild-caught salmon, and I want you to envision it as your body's personal firefighter, one that doesn't just extinguish the flames of inflammation, but actively rebuilds the damage that fire has left behind. A study conducted by researchers at the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine tracked 1,200 adults over the age of 70 for a period of 4 years. Those individuals who consumed at least 2 servings of wild-caught fatty fish per week showed 41% lower levels of C-reactive protein. That's the primary blood marker used to measure systemic inflammation when compared to those who ate little to no fish. But what truly stunned the research team was what happened to the participants' physical function scores. The regular fish eaters maintained significantly better grip strength, superior balance, and faster walking speed. These 3 factors are among the most critical predictors of how long and how independently a senior will be able to live. Here's the underlying biology of why this occurs, and I want you to really grasp this because it's vitally important. Your cell membranes, the outer walls of every single cell in your body, including your muscle cells, brain cells, and heart cells, are largely constructed from fat. The specific type of fat they're built from determines how effectively those cells communicate with one another and how they respond to inflammatory triggers. When your diet is overloaded with omega-6 fatty acids, which are abundant in processed vegetable oils and most packaged convenience foods, your cell membranes become what I describe as sticky and rigid. They produce inflammatory signals more readily and respond more sluggishly to healing cues. Omega-3 fatty acids sourced from wild-caught salmon, specifically EPA and DHA, physically displace those omega-6 fats within your cell membranes, making them more fluid, more responsive, and dramatically less prone to triggering the inflammatory cascade. After the age of 70, This becomes even more critical because your body's ability to convert plant-based omega-3s into the EPA and DHA that your cells can actually use plummets by nearly 50%. That's why obtaining these fats directly from fish becomes absolutely non-negotiable. I want to share Margaret's story with you, a 74-year-old retired school teacher from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, who came to see me about 2 years ago, barely able to climb the stairs in her own home. Her C-reactive protein levels were sitting at 8.2 milligrams per liter, which is nearly 4 times higher than what we consider a healthy threshold. Her rheumatologist had recommended starting a second course of prescription anti-inflammatory medication, but Margaret wanted to try a different path first. Over the course of 6 months, we incorporated 2 to 3 servings of wild-caught salmon per week into her diet, along with several other lifestyle adjustments. At her 6-month follow-up appointment, her C-reactive protein had plummeted to 2.1. She was climbing those stairs again, without difficulty. She looked at me and said, "Dr. Mandell, I feel like I've gotten 10 years of my life back." That is the true power of food as medicine. When it comes to preparation, bake or slow cook your salmon rather than pan frying it at high temperatures, which can damage the delicate omega-3 fatty acids. Season it with fresh dill and a squeeze of lemon, both of which contain their own complementary anti-inflammatory compounds. For an optimal synergy effect, enjoy your salmon alongside a serving of cooked spinach. The magnesium found in spinach activates the enzymes that help your body properly metabolize and utilize omega-3 fatty acids. It's a combination I recommend to virtually every patient over 65. The scientific references supporting everything I've shared so far are linked in the description box below. Now, let's advance to number 3, and I promise this one is going to make you smile because it is absolutely delicious. But first, if you're finding this information valuable, and I truly hope you are, please take just a moment right now to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. We are building a community of people who firmly believe that aging powerfully is a conscious choice, not an inevitable destiny. And every single week, I'm putting out the kind of honest, science-backed information that your doctor may not have the time to share during a rushed 15-minute appointment. Hitting that subscribe button takes just 2 seconds, and it has the potential to genuinely change your health trajectory. Now, number 3. Number 3 is blueberries. And before you dismiss this as something you've heard 100 times before, let me share a piece of research that stopped me cold when I first came across it because it completely changed how I counsel every single patient over 65. Researchers at the Jean Mayer USDA Human Nutrition Research Center on Aging at Tufts University, one of the premier aging research facilities anywhere in the world, conducted a 12-week randomized controlled trial involving adults between the ages of 60 and 78. One group consumed the equivalent of 1 cup of fresh blueberries each day. The control group received a placebo powder designed to mimic the taste. At the conclusion of the trial, the blueberry group showed a 25% reduction in NF-kappa B activity. That's nuclear factor kappa B, the master switch inside your body that turns inflammatory genes on and off. The blueberry group also demonstrated measurable improvements in episodic memory and processing speed, improvements significant enough that the lead researcher described them as clinically meaningful. Now let me break down exactly what's happening inside your body, specifically because of aging, and why blueberries address this issue so precisely. Inside every one of your cells are tiny structures called mitochondria. Think of them as the power plants that generate the energy your cells need to function properly. When you're young, you have an abundant supply of healthy mitochondria, and they run cleanly and efficiently. But after the age of 65, a process known as mitochondrial dysfunction begins to accelerate. Your mitochondria start running dirty, producing more waste products called reactive oxygen species, which are essentially sparks that ignite inflammation at the cellular level. This is happening simultaneously in your joints, your brain, your heart, and your blood vessels. The anthocyanins in blueberries, the pigments that give them that deep, rich blue-purple color, are among the most potent mitochondrial protectors ever studied. They actually enter the cells and help neutralize those reactive oxygen species before they have a chance to trigger the inflammatory cascade. And here's the part most people don't know. Frozen blueberries are actually just as potent as fresh ones because the anthocyanins are remarkably well preserved during the freezing process. This matters because fresh blueberries can be expensive and are often seasonal. A bag of frozen wild blueberries is one of the most cost-effective anti-inflammatory investments you can possibly make. The optimal dosage based on the research is 1 cup per day, consumed either in the morning with breakfast or as a mid-afternoon snack. Morning consumption pairs wonderfully with oatmeal. The beta-glucan fiber in oats acts as a prebiotic that feeds the gut bacteria responsible for converting anthocyanins into their most bioavailable form. This is the synergy tip. Eat your blueberries with oats. According to research from the University of Reading, you'll absorb up to 40% more of the active anti-inflammatory compounds this way. And here's a preparation tip. Let your frozen blueberries thaw slightly rather than eating them straight from the freezer. The partial thawing process breaks down some of the cell walls, releasing more of the anthocyanins and making them more accessible to your digestive system. Number 2 is coming up next. And I told you at the start of this video that one of these items would genuinely shock you. Well, this is that item. Most people have been cooking it completely wrong for their entire lives, and that mistake is costing them the most powerful anti-inflammatory compound this food contains. Number 2 is turmeric, but not the way you've been using it. There is a critically important preparation method that almost nobody knows about, and without it, you're absorbing less than 3% of turmeric's active anti-inflammatory compound. Let me explain. A study published in the journal Phytotherapy Research followed 120 patients with moderate knee osteoarthritis, all of them between the ages of 62 and 79. They were randomly assigned to receive either 1,500 milligrams of curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, per day, or ibuprofen at a standard therapeutic dose. After 8 weeks, both groups reported equivalent reductions in pain and inflammation scores. But here's the critical difference. The curcumin group experienced none of the gastrointestinal side effects, none of the blood pressure changes, and none of the kidney stress markers that appeared in the ibuprofen group. A food produced the same result as a pharmaceutical drug without a single side effect. However, curcumin has a profound absorption problem. On its own, your digestive system barely absorbs it. Studies from the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center have shown that standard curcumin has a bioavailability of less than 3%, meaning 97% of it simply passes right through you. However, there is a simple, completely natural solution that increases absorption by up to 2,000%. Black pepper. Specifically, a compound in black pepper called piperine temporarily inhibits the liver enzyme that breaks curcumin down before your bloodstream can absorb it. Just 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper combined with your turmeric transforms it from a largely inert spice into a medicinal powerhouse. The second preparation secret is fat. Curcumin is fat-soluble. It needs fat to travel through your intestinal wall and into your bloodstream. This is exactly why the traditional Indian preparation of golden milk, turmeric blended with warm whole milk or coconut milk has been such an effective delivery vehicle for 5,000 years. The ancients didn't understand the biochemistry, but they figured out the practical truth. For aging bodies specifically, curcumin does something truly remarkable that most pharmaceuticals cannot do. It crosses the blood-brain barrier. That's the protective boundary between your bloodstream and your brain tissue. Researchers at UCLA's Easton Center for Alzheimer's Disease Research found that curcumin reduced amyloid plaque accumulation, one of the hallmark signs of Alzheimer's disease in animal models, by up to 50%, and human trials are currently underway. After the age of 70, when your blood-brain barrier becomes more permeable and your brain's own cleanup systems start to slow down, this becomes a critically important property. I think of curcumin like a very tiny, very intelligent cleaning crew. Most anti-inflammatory drugs work like a sledgehammer. They knock out inflammation everywhere, including in places where it's doing useful work. Curcumin works like a precision cleaning crew, targeting specifically the NF-kappa B pathway and reducing only the chronic damaging inflammation while leaving your body's acute inflammatory response, the one that fights off infection, completely intact. I had a patient named Robert, a 71-year-old retired carpenter from Asheville, North Carolina. Robert had been managing chronic lower back inflammation for 9 years with a combination of over-the-counter pain relievers and 2 prescription medications. He had developed mild kidney function concerns, which is a known side effect of long-term NSAID use. We worked together to introduce a daily golden milk preparation: 1 teaspoon of high-quality turmeric, a quarter teaspoon of black pepper, and a tablespoon of extra virgin coconut oil blended into warm almond milk consumed each morning. Within 3 months, his self-reported pain scores dropped by 60%. Within 6 months, his kidney function markers had normalized. His orthopedist was, in Robert's own words, completely stumped. For the synergy tip with turmeric, pair it with ginger. Both spices work through overlapping but distinct anti-inflammatory pathways. Research from the University of Georgia found that together they produce a synergistic effect, meaning the combined result is greater than the sum of their individual effects. A golden milk preparation that includes half a teaspoon of freshly grated ginger alongside your turmeric and black pepper is one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory beverages you can possibly consume. I told you at the outset that number 1 would surprise you, and I want to make absolutely sure I deliver on that promise. Because what I'm about to share with you is backed by some of the most compelling research to emerge from nutritional medicine in the last decade. And the part that people are consistently throwing away is the very part that holds the highest concentration of its most potent compound. Number 1 is broccoli sprouts, not broccoli florets, broccoli sprouts. These are the 3 to 5 day old seedlings that look like tiny alfalfa sprouts and have a slightly pungent, peppery flavor. Most people have absolutely no idea they even exist. Here's why they beat everything else on this list. Researchers at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, and this research has now been replicated across 14 independent studies, found that broccoli sprouts contain between 50 and 100 times more of a compound called sulforaphane than mature broccoli does. Sulforaphane is, according to Dr. Paul Talalay at Johns Hopkins, one of the most potent inducers of the body's own antioxidant and anti-inflammatory defense systems ever identified in any food. Let me explain how this works because it's genuinely fascinating. Your body has its own master anti-inflammatory switch, controlled by a protein called NRF2. When NRF2 is activated, it switches on over 200 genes involved in detoxification, cellular repair, and anti-inflammatory defense. Think of NRF2 as your body's internal cleanup foreman, giving orders to hundreds of specialized cleanup crews all at once. Sulforaphane is the most potent natural NRF2 activator ever identified in the field of food science. A clinical trial published in the journal Cancer Prevention Research gave participants either broccoli sprout extract or a placebo for 12 weeks. In the broccoli sprout group, markers of oxidative stress, the chemical damage that drives both inflammation and aging, dropped by 38%. nasal airway inflammation dropped by 54%, and systemic inflammatory markers, including IL-6 and TNF-alpha, two of the most dangerous inflammatory compounds associated with cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, and sarcopenia, showed reductions averaging 29%. For seniors specifically, here's why sulforaphane is so uniquely important. After the age of 75, your body loses approximately 35% of its capacity to neutralize a specific class of oxidative compounds called lipid peroxides, which accumulate in arterial walls and brain tissue and drive some of the most severe inflammation associated with aging. Sulforaphane activates an enzyme called glutathione peroxidase, which specifically targets and neutralizes these lipid peroxides. This is a mechanism that most pharmaceutical anti-inflammatory agents simply do not address. Now here's the preparation mistake that almost everyone makes, and why most people eating regular broccoli aren't getting this benefit. Sulforaphane is not actually present in broccoli sprouts directly. It is formed through a chemical reaction between two compounds, glucoraphanin and an enzyme called myrosinase. When you chew raw broccoli sprouts, these two compounds mix together and sulforaphane is produced. The problem is heat. When you cook broccoli or when you steam broccoli sprouts, you destroy the myrosinase enzyme, and the conversion to sulforaphane cannot happen. You're left with glucoraphanin alone, which your gut bacteria can partially convert, but only at about 10 to 30% efficiency. The solution is simple. Always eat broccoli sprouts raw. Toss them into a salad, add them to a sandwich, blend them into a smoothie with some pineapple juice to balance the pungent flavor, or simply eat them as a garnish on top of other dishes. If you prefer to cook your broccoli, add a tablespoon of raw broccoli sprouts on top of the cooked broccoli after it comes off the heat. The myrosinase from the raw sprouts will convert the glucoraphanin in both the raw and cooked portions into sulforaphane. Researchers at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign confirmed this technique and found it increases sulforaphane yield by up to 400% compared to eating cooked broccoli alone. Where do you get broccoli sprouts? Many health food stores now carry them. Whole Foods, Sprouts, and similar markets typically stock them in the produce section near the microgreens. But the most economical approach, and the one I personally use, is to grow them yourself. A broccoli sprout growing kit costs under $20 and produces a continuous supply in just 4 to 5 days. I've linked resources in the description for exactly how to do this. For optimal dosage, research suggests that 70 to 100 grams of fresh broccoli sprouts per day, roughly 3 to 4 ounces, or about 2 large handfuls, provides a clinically meaningful dose of sulforaphane. Consistency matters enormously here. The NRF2 activation effect is cumulative and becomes significantly more powerful after 3 to 4 weeks of daily consumption. For the synergy tip, pair your broccoli sprouts with selenium-rich foods, a small handful of Brazil nuts, or a serving of yellowfin tuna. Selenium is a cofactor for the enzyme glutathione peroxidase that sulforaphane activates, meaning that without adequate selenium, even abundant sulforaphane cannot perform its full job effectively.